welcome to Adaptation, where we talk about film adaptations and the original material they're based on. I'm Kendall Bryant, and this being the month of July, we are paying tribute to our very favorite gateway fandom, Harry Potter, by saying rest in print to all the characters that didn't get their due in the films. Okay, probably not all of them, because, let's face it, there were a lot, but the ones that are most important to us. You may remember my very emotional rant about Ginny last year, and this time around I'm talking about a character that I love approximately 1,000 times more, so forgive me if it happens again. Neville Longbottom is my absolute favorite character in Harry Potter, and it's not that I think that they completely threw him under the bus in the movies, but I do think they kind of mucked up his plotline and some of the subtleties of his character development. I saw the first 3 movies before I had actually read the books, and even to this day, I have a really hard time remembering early days Neville as anything more than comic relief. He's kind of like Ron in that way, that they leave in all of his weaknesses and take out a lot of his defining moments. The first movie shows him getting the leg locker curse put on him so he has to hop around, getting his Remember All stolen by Malfoy, and of course, standing up to the trio at the end. But it also cuts him out of the scene where the trio find Fluffy, leaves out the scene in the Quidditch match where he stands up to Malfoy, and takes out the fact that he tried to warn Harry about Malfoy, and in the process gets put in detention with them in the Forbidden Forest. Without these other moments of bravery, I honestly think his big moment at the end just kind of makes him look silly. It's like, oh, now you decide to stand up to somebody, and it's the wrong people at the absolute worst moment. But in reality, he's been building up to this moment throughout the story. And if we look past the first book, ultimately he's building up to be somebody that will stand up to Death Eaters and keep the DA going in Harry's absence. And look, I get it. The movie makers didn't know how important his character was going to be until books 5 and 6. So the early movies have him being hung from a chandelier by pixies and thinking he killed Harry Potter with gillyweed. And it gets better in 5 and then after, and showing that Neville's really coming into his own, because the filmmakers, now knowing that his character is about 50 times more important than we all thought it was, have decided to give him some additional screen time and a bit more personality. But this is where they start leaving out important details surrounding his story, most notably the fact that the prophecy could have referred to him instead of Harry had the Dark Lord marked him. And I just can't get over this one because it is my absolute favorite plot point, and it has fantastic implications for the series and for Neville's character. It parallels Harry and Neville in a way that we might not have noticed otherwise, both of them having grown up without parents because of Voldemort, and both living with relatives that ridiculed them, albeit for different reasons. And while Harry grew up with the prophecy on his shoulders and having Voldy try and attack him every year, at the end of the day, Neville ends up in essentially the same place character-wise, with the same courage and conviction that Harry has. And if you ask me, that is Neville's most important and impressive character trait, that he was able to get there without all of these extenuating circumstances that Harry had. Of course, the movie makers do show him being brave in the last film. He's refusing to torture first years, he's keeping Hogwarts students safe in the Room of Requirement, and of course he gets to make his grand speech and kill Nagini. But that last bit isn't because Harry confided in Neville, or because he recognized that he was just as closely tied to this whole situation as Harry himself was, like in the books. I think everybody has that one part of the books that didn't make it into the films that just kills them inside, and this is mine. And maybe not everyone will agree to the magnitude of its importance, but I don't think it just does a disservice to Neville's character to leave this out. It does a disservice to the series and to J.K. Rowling's brilliance as well. Are there other characters that are treated worse by the series? Probably. See my Ginny video and the other ones that we have coming up this week for proof. But this one just is the one that needles at me the most. Neville is more than just comic relief. In some ways, his story is just as moving and tragic as Harry's is. His character grows just as much, if not more, than our beloved Chosen One, and the movies just don't do it justice. That being said, make sure you back me up in the comments, or argue with me at your own peril. Hit subscribe if you want to stick around for the rest of our Harry Potter videos this month, and of course check the info section for links to all our social media and our weekly podcast. Until next time, rest in print, Neville Longbottom. You are most definitely worth 12 of Malfoy.